So today I'm mastering the song I Kind of Relate by Drake Bell. This song was mixed by Tall Rom, and Tall actually already did a great reference master version of this. So I've just been brought in to see if I can beat it, and we're basically all collaborating together on this to get the best product possible. So let's see what I can do. Yeah, so here's the mix with his Kazrog True Iron plugin on, which was on in his version. I have it with and without, but this shows most of the intention of what he was trying to do.
I found love in Mexico, 'cause no one wants to hear me in the States, so I'm running away, running away, running away. Maybe I will.
This is obviously a high-level production, super crafted mix. You can take to kind of the pinnacle of the song later, but needless to say, this sounds like a classic song, from the jump. This is truly a great crafted mix. I love working on all kinds of mixes, but to know that a guy put this kind of time into it, the whole team put this kind of time into it. It's a fun team to be a part of. So here's the ending, the big finale.
Arrive in my new home tonight.
So yeah, you've just got all these scene changes, excellent instrumentation, world-class players. This kind of thing is a real treat. However, since it's already very, very good, it sort of requires me to make sure that I preserve everything that's good about it and make sure that it's as good as it can be. So, every project has different objectives, and with this one, I'm going to see, turn some knobs and go with my gut and see what happens and try and identify some issues and just see how it goes. The first thing I have to decide is if I'm going to use the version of the mix with the True Iron, which will make it more similar to his and potentially be good, or if the iron and the transformers of my gear is a better call, and I'd be better off using the version without. So, and I can flip between these at any point in the process, and I very well might. So you just kind of never know, and I don't close myself off to any of the options. So I've got basically kind of a master chain going on already. I've got it going into my dangerous backs. I'm hitting it lightly into my SSL GFX 384. This modded Focusrite Blue 315 Mark II with modified op amps. Clairphonic MS for just a little bit of air lift, which I may or may not use depending. I've got the Weiss EQ1 linear phase, which isn't on yet, but I could certainly may turn it on in the process. That all goes into my Terry CEQ, which I use on every master for something, and even if it's just a little bit, it always gets used. Into my Fairman TM EQ, which is the crazy expensive tube EQ, has 22 tubes in it, and it's a real rare version with 0.2 dB steps. So it's always near the end of the chain, and the end of the chain there is the VacuVox U23Ms, which are just a really world-class, sort of Fairchild style, very move compressor. It's actually based on a Roden Schwartz, but and then all that goes out of my Lavery Gold DA924 and then back into my Lavery Gold Mark III. So all the stuff that I usually use, I may turn some of it on and off, but that's basically the entire mastering chain as it is. And so let's see what I can do here. So first thing I do is sort of adjust the level of the mix in order to hit my chain correctly. which, I have the SSL 384, which I don't think this hit any kind of mix bus compression from when I talked to Tall. So this is just something I use. I don't use it on every master. Not every master needs it, but and I'll probably AB it, but a little bit of it doesn't usually hurt. It's very, very musical sound, and sounds great. Just don't hit it too hard and it'll be fine. This is the Kazrog version. Yeah, I'm getting the feeling I might actually use that. I mean, again, it's a great plug. The guy who mixed it knows what he's doing, so I think I might actually use it. So let's just roll with that for a little while. Something I'm hearing is that there's a little bit of scratchiness. A little bit of a scratchiness in the upper range somewhere with the cymbals. I might bring some of that back, or some of it might be kind of what I'm doing with the mastering chain, but I think some of the stuff in the mix might need a little smoothed out. So let me just do that. Yeah, leaving that little scratchier area is probably the way to go. And when doing this, it's good to remember that, you're going to lose that energy there. So if you don't replace it with some better sounding version, and that's in the other mix, it's debatable whether or not that's a good move, but it's just something I've sort of noticed with the percussion. So I'm going to do that knowing that I may very well take it off. So we'll see. Don't really have the level that I want yet. right now I'm doing a little light clipping into the Lavery Golds, nothing that would bottom them out, but I don't know if this mix is going to need it. It's got a lot of great harmonics, so I think I'm going to go make it up over here.
I will arrive in my new home tonight. Maybe I will survive. I know I was wrong, but I'm bound to make it right. I know I was wrong, but I'm gonna make it right. I know I was wrong, but I gotta make it right. I had to get out, so I got on this flight. In 2008, I found love in Mexico. 'Cause no one wants to arrive in my new home tonight. Maybe I will survive. I know.
So a few things in it that I'm wanting. Let me hear the original mix without the Kazrog and see maybe if that's better now that I'm pushing more on my end.
Arrive in my new home tonight. Maybe.
Yeah, and again, could change my mind, but that does seem, once it's downstream and I'm actually hitting all my transformers in my chain, that seems to give me, it's getting rid of some of whatever the plugin's doing to round things off. I'm rounding things off in a different way in the analog domain. So I'm going to roll without the Kazrog for now. And again, stuff changes. I go back and forth all the time while I'm doing this. So
I will arrive in my new home tonight. Maybe I will survive. I know I was wrong, but I'm bound to make it right. I know I was wrong, but I'm gonna make it right. I know.
So curiosity, I'm going to load up the version of the mix that I was given with his master.
I kinda relate. I found beauty.
So I do this. I have these basically gain matched on my monitor controller, my Lavery Quintessence that I use as a monitor controller. So they're set up to be the same level. I can do offsets if I need, but I'm just going to do this for now, just to have.
I kinda relate.
So that's his.
I found beauty in my pain.
It's mine.
I'm running away from the abuse and all the shame. 'Cause no one comes to my house anymore. No one knocks on my door. I kinda relate. The wrong decisions I have made. I wanted to stay, but I couldn't last another day. My golden days, they seem so far and gray. So I'm running away.
Pretty good about it so far. Obviously, it was the first time that I compared to it, and it sounds like I'm on the right track. So we play the ending. Obviously, if I'm using a little bit of bus compression, nothing crazy, that might help those intimate parts come up, but you don't want to do it too much to where you lose the dynamics. So the SSL GFX 384 is very sneaky in the way that it does that. And as long as you don't hit the thing too hard, if you may, in the hardest parts, if you hit it, somewhere between 2 to 4, never a little over 4 is fine if you're doing stuff from scratch for yourself. But I generally try to keep it a little below 4, but no lower than 2 when I do stuff for other people that doesn't have bus compression. So on the heaviest part, so that means on the intro part,
from the abuse.
So it's just for tone. You're not actually getting any, real substantive compression, but you don't want to level it out too much. But, having the verses pop is people never are mad about it.
I will arrive in my out on this flight. I was wrong, but I'm bound to make it right. I know I was wrong, but I'm gonna make it right.
Yeah, I mean, this mix is just great. It's big and smooth. I do sort of want to try and get maybe make a little bit more of a space for the kick and snare without trying to make things pointy. So a lot of times on the Focusrite, I'll do a tight bell at on a low frequency, 56, 68, or 82. And then I'll do like a high bell at like 8K. And that can give me some kick snare shaping opportunities, but can also make things too pointy. So it's not a guaranteed thing. It depends on if you get a mix that's more relaxed, it's more likely to work, which this one is pretty relaxed. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a shot here. Let's see what it's got.
I didn't care for anything dear to her. Out the window to the world, forget about the girl and make it alright. And maybe I will arrive.
That's with just 0.3 dB of each of those. This is where it was with those flat.
Maybe I will arrive in my new home tonight. I know.
Yeah, and that does sound a little pointless to me. It sounds a little vague. So it's giving the kick and snare a little more of an identity. Taller kick, making taller snare, making the kick go down to a point that matches the snare. So I'm going to use those a lot of the times. I use them in tandem with each other to create a kick snare space. However, if I do get something where this kick is fine, but the snare is a little recessed, I may just use the 8K bell, the tight 8K bell in order to bring it up. But
Maybe I will arrive in my new home tonight. I know I was wrong, but I'm bound to make it right. I know I was wrong, but I'm gonna make it right. Will arrive in my new home tonight.
the other thing I've got here, I've got kind of a mid boost, mid-range boost that I use to kind of define the guitar areas a lot. So here's with it completely off. Is it flat? And then here it is up a dB, which is where I had it a minute ago. So 1 dB at 1.8K. Now it sounds great. The thing with this, if you go too far, which obviously I'll do like 3 dB or something, it gets pretty nasally and thin. And even the 1 dB, I might try doing 0.6 dB, which is another step down, it decides the shape of things. So things will get more nasal if you boost those frequencies, but this thing does it in a way that is super familiar for, I don't know, radio rock guitars, if you want to call them that. Just really nice mid-range guitars, puts them in a nice spot without ruining your kick and snare to a point. That's tough. 0.6 is pretty good. 1 dB is kind of better. So that's the thing. Then it changes it. So now it's almost like I feel like I want more kick drum. So, I could try doing another click of the 68 hertz tight bell I'm doing on the bottom. That's too bunched up. And again, I would probably want to raise up the 8K to accommodate it. And in this case, I don't think I need any more 8K. So I'm going to try a broader low end. So 70 shelf boost on the Terry CEQ, which is already up 1 click. So I'm going to try putting that up 2 clicks and see what happens. It's a bigger, kind of softer, low shelf sound, whereas the Focusrite is more for actual like kick drum punch. But if you go too far, it's pretty obvious. I know I I like that, but it's a little much. Let me try putting in a little bit of this just high silk band with the Clairphonic MS, just to see if it gives me a little, so like an air band kind of thing, which, it's kind of, it's a very useful tool. This doesn't necessarily need it because it's got beautiful top end, but sometimes it's just part of the chain. It just allows me to equalize out the things that I like about the other things I've done in the chain. So we shall see. Yeah, in this case, I think that's pretty good. It's making things smoother, which I like. It isn't overly bright or shiny, but it's sort of evening out the low end a little bit. Try a little bit of mid-range boost here on the Terry. This is a great tool for adding color to stuff, but it can clog up the image if it's not the right thing. So just for reference, here's an extreme amount of that. Which, hearing an extreme amount of it kind of makes me feel like maybe I can get away with more than usual, but I don't know. I have that feeling a lot, and then I usually end up doing, plus a few clicks. The most I usually would do on that would be, 2 to 4, maybe 5 clicks, but that's pretty rare. It's usually 0 to 3 or 4. So I'm basically just turning those down a click at a time to see when I feel like the image gets correct. And of course, here I am back at, 2-click boost, because like I said, it's just something about this chain. And again, this is a really great mix. So the idea of me needing, I've had stuff that needs a lot of mids, and I might do it with Fab Filter or something in the box. But if this has got the kind of creamy sound that fills the space the right way, then you can definitely get a lot more use out of that. So now the real question is, do I really need 2 clicks or do I need 1 click? I'm back to 1 click. It does seem a little more open. I could definitely get away with the 2. Here's none. And there's an argument to be made for that. I mean, that sounds pretty good. So, I don't know. It's a tough one. I struggle with this stuff because you're just like, at what point are you trying to go for color versus, kind of size and depth? The more mid-rangey you make something, the less elegant it's going to be. It's just going to be more mid-rangey, which eventually just turns into being nasally. So. Like I might roll with that 1 click. It matches kind of the vintagey nature of the tune, and I don't know. I like it. It's always a thing when you start eating up space, you kind of want to get it back or whatever. But in this case, I think it's pretty good. So I've got a Clarity M meter over here. It's in the heavy, loudest section at the end. It's reading about 7 LUFS, which to me is nice. I mean, obviously, volume doesn't actually matter when doing this stuff. So I'm not going to do anything here that's going to negatively impact the quality of the song for the point of volume. So I find I get to -7 fairly easily. It's a little hard, depending on the song. Again, all these numbers, they don't really matter. It's just an indicator to let you know the ballparks you're in. Ultimately, it sounds like what it sounds, and it's as loud as it sounds. So perceived volume is something that, RMS and LUFS is trying to gauge, but we all know something when we hear it, when it pops or when it's too loud or flat. So it's, you got to use these tools as guidelines, but at the end of the day, just make it sound good and don't choke it out. And that's kind of the rule of thumb. So I've got this 22K filter engaged on the Focusrite 315 Mark II. I really like using this filter, especially recapturing the high end using the Clairphonic. It's kind of a thing that I do a lot, because there's something about the 22K filter, especially since having the thing modded, that gets rid of a lot of supersonic sort of fizziness, and it sort of connects the guitars to the rest of the mix. So if I turn that filter off, and I'll turn the Clairphonic off, so I'll do them both. There's just kind of a lack of connection between the guitars and the cymbals, if that makes any sense. It just doesn't, I don't know, doesn't sound like a record to me. So here's the 22K and the Clairphonic, 22K filter and the Clairphonic back on. And it's just stable, and it sounds like a song again. Like, it sounds contained. It's still clear. It doesn't, it's actually more clear because you can actually hear what the guitars are doing. It's not just sort of an ambiguous wash of sound. So it's definitely, a thing I do a lot on records, and sometimes it doesn't come in handy, but a lot of times it does. I'd say I probably use it, 7 out of 10 masters. I'm curious what happens if I don't boost that kick drum little 68 hertz point, since I've got 2 clicks of the Terry low end going now. Interesting. It seems like a little too much with it, but then maybe I'll try backing off back to just one of the low end. I mean, this isn't about the kick drum, this song. It's got to be nice, and it's got to be balanced with the snare, but this is not about the kick drum. This is about the instruments and the vocal and the whole production. It is tempting. I mean, that's with the low end the way I had it. Let me try another click of this 8K bell and see if that makes it more possible.
So I got on this flight.
Yeah, as much as that's kind of good, I feel like it's just getting a little pointy. Let me go back to just one click of low end on the Terry. That bums me out. So that ain't going to solve it. So I got to keep that there. The analog realm kind of requires it. There's this EQ shift switch on the Terry, which I've had down. It's kind of a bigger, more relaxed sound. I'm going to click it up and see if it gives me the imaging I'm looking for. Now, usually that's truly a 50-50 thing for me. I think I've probably just dialed in too well around it being down and need to figure out another way to get that image.
So I want to hear me in the state. I will arrive in my new home tonight. I know I was wrong, but I'm bound to make it right. I know I was.
So I ended up backing off the 1.8K on the Focusrite to just plus 0.6 dB, and that might be the imaging and opening up that I need.
Arrive in my new home tonight.
The other thing I'm going to try, which I have the backs over here kind of for ergonomic reasons. Unfortunately, it's not the most ergonomic, but I have to because of the way everything hooks up. So I wish it was in front of me, but to be honest, I don't like messing with it that much anyway. It's just, I have a few kind of things I use or don't use it for. So it's not a big deal, and it kind of gets me up and out of the chair, resets my brain. So this is just basically, I went from 0.5 of a 4.8K shelf, which is kind of my favorite shape on that, to doing 1 dB of that shelf.
So I got on this arrive in my new home tonight. Maybe I will survive. I know I was wrong, but I'm bound to make it right. I know I was wrong, but I'm gonna make it right. I know I was wrong, but I gotta make it right. I had to get out, so I
Tough call. It sounds nice. I do find that when that thing goes too far, it kind of flattens out a bit. So we put it back.
arrive in my new home tonight. Maybe I will survive. I know I was wrong, but I'm bound to make it right. I know I was wrong, but I'm gonna make it right. I know I was wrong.
That's a big sound. So yeah, right there, it's bigger when it's not shelved too much. If something needs it, it will make it sound bigger. But the point at which it is too much, it'll make things kind of smaller. So in terms of imaging, and again, this is pretty clear mix. So I'm not in need of tons of high end boosting. If anything, I'm just reshaping the top end based on stuff that my analog gear does uniquely. So this is not by any means, this is not a commentary on things lacking in the mix. It's just these are the ways I can kind of bend and shape things in the analog realm. So
Arrive in my new home tonight. Maybe I will survive. I know I was wrong, but I'm bound to make it right. I know I was wrong, but I'm gonna make it right. I know I was wrong, but I gotta make it right. Arrive in my new home tonight. Maybe
tried trading out the one click of CEQ for going back to plus 1 dB on the Focusrite, but I think a little bit from both things is nice.
arrive in my new home tonight. Maybe I will survive. I know I was wrong, but I'm bound to make it right. I know I was wrong, but I'm gonna make it right. I know I was
So, at this point, balance is pretty good. Levels are pretty good. I'm going to save, a little preset here so I can do some flipping around, because obviously the point where EQ is good, then you go to gain staging. And then if you discover something there, you might go back to EQ. But so I'm getting a little bit of the red light on the Laverne Mark III, which is not a big deal at all. I'm not pushing it to the point of any degradation. However, we can just see what happens if I basically trade out a dB of that for a dB of post limiting and just see which is better. It's pretty easy to do. And that sounds really good. And that's the thing. Believe me, I've definitely used the clipping and the Laverne Gold plenty, but it is not, you do not have to. It's not necessarily better than, again, all of these tools combined. I have a really nice ability to shape things where I don't need it as much. If I was just rocking a simple mastering compressor and maybe one outboard EQ, and I was going to need, I had different ways of getting harmonics, I would probably, and historically did, clip more in order to kind of get things sounding done. But I sort of have this rig set up in phases so that I can kind of bend everything the way I want it, which means, I don't necessarily need to clip at all, and maybe just occasionally, which again, you're never going to hear. So this is 1 dB less gain on the vacuum box, and 1 dB more gain on the invisible limiter. So less clipping. And this was the 2 dB more gold clipping and 2 dB less post limiting that I had originally when I started doing this. So it's clearly less, it's clearly more bunched up that way, which is great. I don't, again, clipping comes in handy. If you don't need it, you don't need it. So now I've basically got to the point where it's not even clipping on most of the snare drums. So there's an occasional flicker of a red light on some random snare hit or something. But for the most part, I'm not even clipping the converters, and I'm getting most of my gain from this. And again, that, converter clipping's rad. I've done a lot of it. But less of it these days on account of all this other gear that kind of shapes everything and makes it so that by the time it gets to the converter, it's conditioned in a way where I can have a mix that mostly just hovers right around 0 and is leveled out in a more thoughtful way. Yeah, so again, the LUFS program loudness is reading 7.1. So, this clearly sounds good in that range, but this master sounds better now than it did. It's got to sound better now than it did last time I was hitting that 7, 0.0 or whatever measurement. So. That's the thing. The levels are just to make sure you know what's coming in. You're not doing anything stupid. It's just to give you information. Yeah, so I'm basically getting a LUFS measurement of about 7.1, 7.2 in this loud section, which is basically where I was at earlier. But again, the numbers aren't really the point. So the point is that it sounds good. The numbers are just there to kind of guide you. And I'm quite sure that even though these read the same thing, this is probably louder in terms of perceived volume, and probably sounds quite a bit better because I was at very early stages of that. But it's good to know that this song seemingly doesn't need to be pushed any further than that. And that makes sense because, again, it's just a nice, big, pleasant song. So I'm really liking the gain staging where I'm at right now. So I'm going to save another little test here. And I'm going to listen through some more of the song and just see what's going on.
I kind of relate. I lost my path so long ago in 2008. I found love in Mexico, 'cause no one wants to hear me in the States. So I'm running away, running away, running away. Maybe I will arrive in my new home tonight.
So listening to that verse, again, it's possible that I want to try and go with less low end. This is the thing, I like to get the most out of everything, but sometimes less is more. So let me listen to that verse again with just one click of the Terry 70 hertz boost.
I lost my path so long ago in 2008. I found love in Mexico.
With it back in, it might be better without it. See, now, I can hear that it's bunched up. And again, it's got great low end. I like to test the edges and know how far I can go with something. So now I'll go back to the part I listened to a million times. And I bet I'll be just fine with the less low end now that I've evened some things out. I've also opened up the low end by not clipping the converter in this case. So it's all kind of a moving target. You just keep going until you got nothing left to try. Back to trying to get away with the 1 dB of 1.8K. I do this a lot. I got I want to make that work, but if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. So I kind of sit here and play devil's advocate with myself a lot. I'm real conflicted. I'm going to turn off the Terry mid boost and see if that's the thing. It just gives it the vibe. I feel like I need that. So. That's just a tough one because the vibe of the Terry is really good. I mean, those mids are smooth. I do worry it could be getting a little on the nasal side, but I'm going to try and bring up the 8K sort of bell to see if I can maybe get, I don't know. I'm just messing with it now. Yeah, that part's pretty instructive as to what to do and not to do. So I'm going to back it off and listen to that again.
In 2008, I found love in Mexico, 'cause no one wants to hear me.
I'll see what happens if I get rid of the 68 hertz bell on the Focusrite. Maybe that's what's clogging things up.
In 2008,
I'm immediately lost without it. So I'm going to need that.
I will arrive in
And then, the ultimate question, like at this point, volume doesn't matter. I mean, it just doesn't. I don't actually care about the volume. So I can hear, I guess I can do the unity gain to hear what I'm really doing.
'Cause I didn't care for anything dear to her. Out the window to the world, forget about the girl and make it alright.
Yeah, so I mean that difference, obviously I can hear a difference, but that's a pretty ridiculous difference for 6 dB of gain. And also I've dialed the mix around that difference. So there's things about it, the unity gain bypass that I don't like because I've been EQing around it.
'Cause I didn't care for anything dear to her. Out the window to the world, forget about the girl and make it alright.
It's just something about it. So again, I'm not really worried that I'm doing anything damaging to the material. I feel like I'm basically just enhancing it across the board. But there's a way to hear where kind of the Goldilocks of too hot, too cold, and then just right. So given that I've already made it to the point where like I'd be happy printing this master, now I'll check that.
'Cause I didn't care for anything dear to her. Out the window to the world, forget about the girl and make it alright. And maybe I will arrive in my new home tonight. I know I was wrong, but I'm bound to make it right. I know I was wrong, but I'm gonna make it right. 'Cause I didn't care for anything dear to her. Out the window to the world, forget about the girl and me.
Yeah, I mean, again, I know it's crazy because that's 0.01 dB, but there's a point where everything sounds its best, and I dialed it in around this mostly. Obviously, I changed some of the gain stuff, so it's not surprising that it would sound incomplete to me. Real quick, so I'm gonna run a little meter to make sure my levels are balanced, which I'm pretty picky about that stuff. But sometimes if they're close enough, I'll just leave them even if they're not perfect. But I do like to balance those as well as I can. And again, so this is a situation, most of the time people just do C10.3 and that's fine.
I will arrive in my new home tonight. Maybe I will arrive in my new home tonight. Maybe I will survive. I know I was wrong, but I'm bound to make it right. I know I was wrong, but I'm gonna make it right. I know I was wrong, but I gotta make it right. I had to get out, so I got on this flight.
So again, his version was great. And I had to be conscious of comparing to it just to make sure that I wasn't going too far in the way that I changed it. Now, I didn't meticulously A/B to it when dialing in the master, but at the very end, I used it to decide, well, okay, I may have warmed some things up too much, or do I really need this much body? And it's good. A great reference master someone sends you is very instructive. So when a guy does a good job, you should listen to what's in the mix and not just, act like you know better. So, in this case, I pulled back a couple things that I had done that was a little more of a flex on my part and just went with a little more natural of the thing. Again, still doing a lot. It's running through a lot of gear, doing a lot of little nips and tucks along the way. But, I think this one is ready to send off. So, yeah, just a little less sizzle to it, just a little taller, a little more robust and creamier. And that's the kind of stuff that'll matter in the end. Just making it have a little bit more of a solidness to it, making the voice sound more intimate, which it definitely does in the quiet parts, especially, which helps. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of this song is very delicate. So a lot of the mastering levels were done about the ending part. But the in-between stuff matters a lot because it's an intimate, personal song. So the last thing I do, I usually will run levels, and then I have a mastering note, which, believe it or not, all this stuff means something, and I know how to fill it out. And there you have it. Master done, master easily recallable. Good times.